KFI AM 640. It's later with Mo Kelly. We're live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. Happy Monday. And I think the 4th of July celebration holiday weekend is still going, because when I got on the freeway, it was an easy drive. So what the hell is going on? I know people are out of school, but it was never that easy. And then I got to the office. I pulled into the garage, underground parking. It's like, I see what's going on. People chose not to come to work. They're really, really milking this whole holiday weekend thing. The 4th was on Thursday. People didn't show up on Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. Definitely didn't show up on Friday. And now they turn it into an extra day holiday. It's great work if you can find it. But, you know, I'm not going to be a hater, but I am bitter. Anyhow, let's get to the business at hand. I saw this story, and I needed to start off with it because it hurt my heart. It really bothered me as a journalist, a radio journalist, and even though I'm not working in the capacity of a journalist at the moment, I take what I do seriously. I don't take myself seriously. I take what I do seriously. And when I saw the story that the WURD radio host has, I wouldn't say been fired, but they mutually separated after this controversy where the host admitted to giving the Biden campaign the questions before a post-debate interview, or vice versa, where the Biden campaign selected the questions. It hurt my heart because I've interviewed any number of politicians, and Tuala knows what I'm going to say. He knows it's true. And I definitely want to get Mark's thoughts on this. Almost every time we interview a politician or an elected official, that campaign, that administration, that office, their communications department will ask for the questions in advance. They always ask 100% of the time. Doesn't matter Democrat, doesn't matter Republican. Every single time. It's their job to ask, and it's my job to say hell no. Yep. They're supposed to ask. They're supposed to ask for any type of advantage. Everyone that you like, everyone that you don't like, they ask for the questions in advance. And every single time we say no. At most, we will say, okay, well, it's going to be about this person's vision for Los Angeles. We'll say we want to talk about the economic climate. We'll talk in very general terms. But never, ever have I, under any circumstances, either given the questions to a prospective guest, and sometimes entertainment guests will ask as well. And never, ever, and there are times where people have tried to submit questions to me. It's like, here are questions you can use for the interview. It's like, oh, hell's no. Yep. And I make it a point to respond in advance saying, we don't do that.
We have actually lost interviews because don't do. There are several politicians who have said we are going to have to pass on this opportunity if that is the case.
Yes. Now, Mark, you've interviewed any number of people. What is your usual expectation?
It's an immediate non-starter if somebody asks you for the questions in advance. There's no debate about this. Now, but people don't always understand that journalists have some integrity, and so they say things that are horribly, horribly insulting. Like when I've interviewed cops and they've said, don't misquote me now. They don't understand how insulting that is. So I'll immediately come back with, yeah, okay, I won't misquote you, and you don't steal an apple off a cart or shake down a shop owner. What do you think of that?
Oh my goodness.
But so, you know, when people say that they want a list of questions in advance, it's like, no, we don't do that.
No.
That's not done. You may have heard of that being done, but those aren't serious journalists. If there are times when you have a thing that's really important breaking news and you have to have the interview. Like I remember one time years and years ago, I was with a bishop involved in a major sex scandal in the Midwest. And I was like, well, I'm not going to give you a list of the questions, but I'll tell you in advance, we're going to talk about the thing at hand.
Right.
That's the general direction the conversation's going to go in, but you do not ever get a list of questions in advance.
And I try to tell guests or their person who's asking on their behalf, it's like, look, I know what my first question is going to be. Still not going to tell you what that is. And then from there, the answers inform the rest of the interview. I'm not just going down a list of questions, but I understand it's their job to ask. The station in question is WURD. And part of the reason I'm talking about this is I have been a long-time commentator for WURD, non-paid, unpaid commentator for WURD in Philadelphia. I would do it about once a month. So I'm pretty familiar with the station. The station has a very good reputation in Philadelphia as being a voice of the community and very upstanding. So I'm surprised that this journalist, a radio host, Andrea Lawful-Sanders, even did that. And I'm even more surprised when she was interviewed after the fact that she admitted to it. Listen to this.
Andrea, let me ask you here about your interviews, and something I listened to both of them, and there's something that's similar here. You each you asked 4 questions, and maybe that's what you were allowed to ask by the campaign or the White House, but they were essentially the same questions, both interviews, about accomplishments, progress in your respective state, what's at stake in the election, what he has to say about his debate performance, and what he would say to voters who think their vote doesn't matter or might sit this election out. Were those questions given to you by the White House, or the campaign, or did you have to submit questions ahead of this interview?
The questions were sent to me for approval. I approved them.
Okay, so the White House sent the questions to you ahead of the interview?
Yes.
Okay.
I got several questions, 8 of them, and the 4 that were chosen were the ones that I approved.
Okay. I can't. Oh, that's horrible. That is horrible.
It's all about access, and I think access journalism, whether it's this person or Maggie Haberman at the New York Times, it's making people lose massive respect for journalists. You've got to be willing to walk away.
Yes, you've got to be willing to say no. And I understand people want the interview with the president, regardless of whomever that president is. And you have to make a conscious decision. Am I going to give the questions in advance? No. Am I going to accept and use questions sent by the politician or elected official in advance? To hear her admit that, it's one thing to do it. But then you're going to admit it after that? Oh, yeah, you had to go.
Yeah, find another profession. You don't belong in journalism. You're not a journalist.
No, not at all. I'm not going to accuse her of accepting money from the campaign, but you might as well be a paid employee because you're doing the bidding of the campaign.
Yeah, if you're a journalist, no one can own you in any way.
The most you've ever done is assure the interviewee that there are no gotcha questions. That is the most that has ever been done on your part in any conversation. There are no gotcha questions. This is what the interview will be about, and that's it.
The higher you go up that ladder of politics and elected officials, powerful officials, the more difficult it is to secure the interview, the more difficult it is to get them comfortable enough to actually come on your show, especially if it's a local show and not like a national show. But every single time they will ask for the questions. They know good and damn well you're supposed to say no. They know good and damn well that you'll probably say no, but they're still tasked with asking the questions. It's one of those things where it's not wrong to ask, but it is wrong for me to say yes. And it's incumbent upon me or any serious journalist to say hell no.
I got to even take issue with the notion of a gotcha question. In many cases, I don't think that's a thing. I mean, if you're a politician and you are a servant of the public and not a ruler, there's no such thing as a gotcha question. You are there to answer things from the press, which is the way people know things.
But this is where I disagree with you. Let's say, for example, I was going to interview Governor Gavin Newsom, and we put in requests, and he's never responded. But let's say he was going to come on the show. And then, in the course of having a conversation, which we're supposed to be talking about his surrogacy for President Biden and his possible political aspirations, and I throw in some question of, so, are you still cheating on your wife? Okay, that's unrelated to what was actually supposedly agreed upon as far as the context of the conversation.
But that's just plain unprofessional.
Well, okay,
exactly.
That's all I'm saying.
Plain unprofessional equals gotcha.
I mean,
gotcha question, unprofessional question, same thing.
You remember when Robert Downey Jr. Finally broke through with Iron Man and he put all his troubles behind them, there were still a couple of kind of subpar entertainment reporters. And entertainment journalism is a little different from regular journalism. They wanted to get him and talk about his drug use and his brushes with the law, and you could kind of see him grinding his jaw and ending the interviews early. Those were from amateurs who shouldn't have been doing that.
Who trying to make a name for themselves.
Yeah, because they were inappropriate, hacky questions. A good journalist is not a hack.
We agree. All I'm saying is there will be people that you will never hear on this show because we're never going to give them the questions. And anyone who's familiar with my body of work knows that I would like to at least think of myself as a fair interviewer and will give the opportunity for real questions to be asked and answered. But under no circumstances should anyone be giving the questions or getting the questions in advance of a real conversation. And that's why some people, some presidents, some governors, some elected officials will never see Later with Mo Kelly because they know that's not how I get down. It's Later with Mo Kelly. KFI AM 640. We're live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. We have a Metro update. Another one. And another person has been harmed. Whose fault it is? You know, have you seen those charge block videos on TikTok where you see a collision and like a basketball player, they say, whose fault is it, a charge or a block? Oh, Mark, you don't know basketball.
No, I don't. No,
it's the same thing. Like if you see a car hit a pedestrian, is that a charging foul or a blocking foul?
Okay, I get you.
Okay, well, we have one of those coming up next.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
And Friday night, there was a collision between a pedestrian and a subway train, a Metro subway train. Not surprisingly, the pedestrian lost. But here's the question. Who was at fault? Of all the criticism I've had of Metro, and I've talked about how Metro often has these collisions, sometimes with cars, we've talked about it, sometimes with people, we've talked about it, but who is at fault with this particular incident? Well, Friday evening at the Hollywood and Highland Metro stop, I know it very well. I wrote it as part of the red line. It's now called the B line. I know something about it. It happened just after 5 p.m. on Friday, and there was a pedestrian who was trapped under the train, and emergency crews had to, somehow save the person. I don't know of the person's present status, but anytime you get run over by a subway train, it probably does not look good for you. It is said that the person has suffered severe injuries to his lower extremities. Now, this is something I do know about the red line, which is now called the B line. It is completely underground, meaning that this wasn't a person who fell off, I will say, a platform outside or was walking on the street and decided to cross the tracks. Now, short of someone pushing this person onto the tracks, this person chose to jump down on the tracks and walk the tracks and then encountered a train, and the train ran his ass over. Does that sound a little callous? Does that sound a little cold? I mean,
you may have some sensitivity issues here.
It's kind of hard for me to feel for anyone who's going to walk a subway track on their own. It wasn't like, the subway train broke down and this guy decided to walk it on his own like in the movie Volcano. It was nothing like that.
A little compassion goes a long way, Mo.
I know. I do have compassion, but it's less than you. Okay.
You think?
Yes, you're far more compassionate than I am. We're not talking about someone who made a good decision. In fact, we'll be doing a return to my old dying time segment later on in the show, where we mock the people who killed themselves in unorthodox and Darwinistic ways.
Oh, like the Darwin Awards. Okay.
Yeah,
I'm down with that. Yeah.
All right. Well, okay, this is adjacent to it. It's right next door. Okay?
Well, it's all in how you frame it. I guess I'm on your side now.
I don't know if you're a victim if you're walking a subway track, okay?
Fair enough.
Just like the guy who ran out onto the tarmac at LAX. If he got sucked up into an airplane engine, jet engine, I don't know how sorry I would feel for the person.
Yeah, it's culling the herd. I guess you're right.
Yeah, I mean, if you're on a subway track, what is the likelihood of you encountering a subway car? High? Every 3-4 minutes, possibly? Because this was at 5 o'clock on Friday. So that is like rush hour. They're running every 3 minutes.
Yeah, you do get the idea that not a lot of thought was put into this activity.
Yeah, and he couldn't have been on there long because there's a train coming every 3 to 4 minutes.
But it seems like every week we've got a story about somebody in New York getting shoved in front of a subway. That's terrifying.
That is completely different, and that's part of my subway safety thoughts, where when I was riding the subway, I never approached the ledge.
No. Stay all the way with your back to the wall. Hang on to something.
No, serious. There's no exaggeration. Yeah. They have that yellow line you're not supposed to step in front of, but I'm always thinking that someone could inadvertently bump me, much less push me, and then you're down in that pit, and there's no telling how you fall land that you'll be able to scramble out in time.
Utter nightmare fuel.
Oh, right. And it's something I'm always conscious of because I don't trust people. I don't like people generally.
No, they're filthy animals.
The last thing I'm going to do is give them a chance to just off me, because someone might.
Kind of a long list, I would gather.
Oh, this list is getting longer by the day.
Yeah.
It might be getting longer by the end of this segment, seeing how callous and insensitive I happen to be. But seriously, How do you end up on the subway tracks for reasons other than your own choosing? If not pushed. We're
the country where kids ate Tide Pods, okay?
Right. And, and who knows? It possibly could have been a dare. It possibly could have been a TikTok thing where they're trying to get video footage of I don't know, maybe trying to lay under the train and maybe have the train cross over them. I don't know. Look, stranger things have happened. But if you know that, and here's the real point, if you know that subway station, it is so high volume as far as foot traffic. It is high volume as far as subway train traffic, especially at that time. Since there's nothing in the story which says the person was pushed, then I have every reason to believe the person jumped down and chose to be there. It's not like you can walk from the outside, like in New York. It's above ground at one point, and then you can walk into the tunnel. No, the red line / B line is 100% underground. There is nowhere you can get on that track with the exception of jumping down off the platform into that pit.
Are there no safety officers who could have reeled him in?
Now that I don't know. It doesn't say anything about that. But, from what we know, there has been inadequate coverage of these different stations. So, yeah, if they can't stop the murderers, well, they're not going to stop this. Is that too insensitive?
A little bit, perhaps warranted, now that you've set it up properly.
Well, no status on this person. It seems like it doesn't look good for him. And here is a statement from LA Metro, which was released after the incident, and it voiced gratitude to firefighters and paramedics and provided a crucial reminder to riders like you and me, Mark, as we were saying.
But like you, I will never ride this B line. Never.
Well, it's something that we both said. Okay. Quote, it says, quote, stand behind the yellow line at all rail stations and never walk on or around train tracks. Please look and listen for trains in both directions and never run to catch the train. It doesn't say anything. We are looking to find the person and apprehend the assailant who pushed the guy on the tracks.
Listen, if I ever went down to one of those, I would take mountaineering gear and clip and secure myself to something that was bolted into the wall.
Yeah. Look, I don't have a fear, but I have a healthy respect of what can happen on a subway.
I have covered like train, car accidents and all that kind of stuff. In fact, there was one I covered where a girl in a car was trying to beat two trains going in opposite directions and got balled up in between them. I am extra cautious with anything even remotely related to that because it's terrifying.
I didn't know you had such fears.
They're warranted.
Okay.
I've seen the stuff. It's gross.
It's one of those things, like I was talking about my sister who worked at LAX. Once you kind of know the behind the scenes, or if you've covered something in a journalistic capacity, you look at it differently.
Oh, people are just little soft, pulpy blood bags. It doesn't take much to kill somebody. You want to avoid that.
That's a nice note to end on. It's Later with Mo Kelly. The world is changing right before our eyes. And when we come back, we're going to talk about how Target, Aldi, and even Whole Foods, they're no longer accepting personal checks. Imagine that.
Later with Mo Kelly on KFI AM 640.
We're live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. Pop quiz. When was the last time you wrote a personal check? Maybe you do it for rent. Maybe you do it for mortgage. Maybe you do it, I don't know, to pay a friend. But you won't be doing it at certain retailers going forward. Aldi and Whole Foods, they've already said no more personal checks. Done with it. Now Target is saying you better hurry up and use all those personal checks while you can, because you won't be able to use them here at Target starting next month. Target citing extremely low volumes of check transactions. The company aims to streamline its checkout process to enhance convenience for shoppers. And I think they're telling the truth. Have you been to a Target lately and seen those long-ass lines? Just about everywhere. Because I do like shopping at Target.
I was going to say, I think that this is a personal attack against our elderly and individuals who are still holding on to checks. There's a lot of our elderly who have not moved over to cards.
My mother,
and the electronic.
No, my mother is one of them. She still writes personal checks for most of her bills. She'll pay some bills, auto pay or bill pay, but she'll go to the grocery store and still write a check. No, I don't know if I agree it will most impact the elderly, but that's not where these retailers are getting most of their purchases from.
Oh, no, I get that. But I mean, Aldi, that anytime I'm in the Aldi, 80% of the people in Aldi are old.
Yeah, there isn't one near me, so I can't tell you. I've been in one, but there's not one I go into consistently. Whole Foods, we got one right across the street from the studios. I'm in that routinely. There's a wide variety.
Bag, yeah.
It's a mixed bag, but it's a little more affluent.
Yeah.
I'm not expecting checks up in there. Most people are using their debit cards that are Amazon. There's a way you can pay by your Amazon account.
Pay with their phone.
Yeah, that kind of thing. Yeah. So, and you know me, I try not to use cash all that often.
Yes.
I haven't used an actual check. I don't think I used a check this decade.
Do you have checks?
No, that's a great question. I put it this way. If I do, I don't know where they are in my house. And the last opportunity to get checks, I started my LLC, and you open up the account and they say, where do you want us to send the checks? I said, don't send me any checks. You don't need those stinking checks. What am I going to use a check for? I am all about the technology. When I go to the gas station, you're not supposed to do this, they say, but I'll use all the electronic stuff. Just give me what I need, and I'll use my Google Pay from the Google Wallet. There are times where I've forgotten my wallet, but I had my Google Pixel Watch or I had my phone, and I could pay that way.
Just scan my retina, please.
Well, that's next. Well, it's basically scan my retina just to unlock your phone. So you have to unlock your phone for it to use the pay function. So it's the same thing.
We're living in Star Trek.
Aren't you pleased?
Except without most of the really cool, fun stuff.
It's coming. It's coming. You two are just against it.
Well, speaking of really cool and fun and technology, most people would think of Japan as that country very out front with technology. And they are in many respects. But did you know that the Japanese government was hanging on to floppy disks to use them for official government business? And now in 2024, they're finally going to phase out the use of floppy disks.
When was the last time either of you used or even thought about a floppy disk?
Boy, I can't remember.
Well, the news from Japan is that they have finally been able to, at the government level, phase out the use of floppy disks, which I just find absolutely fascinating.
Absolutely fascinating. Absolutely.
On the one hand, we think about Japan as being on the frontier when we think about bullet trains, when we think about robotics, right?
Robotics.
But on the other hand, Japan is fiercely traditional and holds on to these traditions. And there are economists who say that those elements is holding Japan back, because when you look at how the country compares to other developed nations when it comes to productivity, it lags behind. And that's what so many people love about Japan, this tradition, and the fact that they hold on to it, right?
Yeah. Right.
But there is an argument, like, could it also be holding back Japan in terms of economic growth, in terms of productivity?
Well, if you're using floppy disks in 2024, you are lagging.
Now, if Japan could just get in touch with the United States government and tell them to stop using fax machines, we could all be in the 21st
you mean the
century.
IRS,
specifically. Specifically, yes, the IRS.
Okay, look, I just burned a CD of really hot music, so I'm not sure.
Well, the CDs are still post floppy disks. Let's be fair.
He buried the lead. Tawala's making mixtapes for people.
Yeah, what's her name, Tawala?
Yeah.
No, look. I just like making mixes. I like having my own mix on a CD.
You know that you can do that digitally and still play it in your car, right?
It doesn't work as well.
The hell it doesn't.
I had that one app. That app that's horrible. The one.
No, I don't know.
Well, I used it and it didn't work, and it did not give me the songs I specifically want. I said, here are some songs that fit what you're looking for. No, I want the songs I want flowing in the way that I want them, fading in and out, all of that.
You can create a playlist, a digital playlist, and have it play from your phone. You don't need a particular app for that. There's just like files on your phone, play it.
Yeah, okay. Let's see, no.
What are you putting on these mixtapes of yours to score, Tawala? I mean, let's just get right to it. We're talking around it I want the information.
Spit on that thing. You get me?
Come on, 12. We're waiting for an answer before we go to break.
I'm not letting you in my secret stash.
You brought it up.
It's like sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
Look, my secret stash, my secret CDs are legendary, and they are known to get someone to spit on that thing.
Spit on that thing. You get me?
What do you got? A little Sade, a little Enya? What's going on?
No.
Give us the artist.
Definitely some Sade, a little, I like a lot of people. I like the guy that you play a lot, Anderson .Paak.
Anderson .Paak, yes.
Such beautiful music. Man, I go jazz. I go all over the place.
And it works. It produces results for you.
Hey, man, look, I have one that is called, it's epic. It is a 3 CD series. It is called Scorpio, A Love Story. Man, from the beginning and the end of, beginning, middle, and the end of a relationship, a little poetry in there, a little spoken word.
We're just talking about scoring, okay? We don't need all that other romance stuff.
Look, I'm trying to tell you, it takes you through the journey.
Can you burn me one of those?
Spit on that thing. You get me?
I don't need you to spit on that thing. No.
Okay, look at the time. When we come back, we're going to talk about the further evolution of our economic society. Malls, shopping malls may no longer be a thing, and I think they're coming to an end sooner than later. And you can see the best representation of that evidence when we talk about what happened at the Carson Mall recently and how that means, malls just don't have a place going forward. I think we'll talk about it in just a moment.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
You might have heard of the disturbance at the Carson Mall recently. I know that mall well. It used to be one of my hangouts growing up, and it was a dying mall even back in the day. Then they got an anchor store by the name of IKEA, which kept it going. Carson Mall was the location of the last Chuck E. Cheese I ever went to in my life. Yes, there was a fight there that day. But Carson Mall has been struggling for decades. Malls have been struggling now for quite some time, be it because of the pandemic, be it because of inflation and economics, be it because of the online marketplace making a lot of these shops obsolete. Malls are a thing of the past, whether the malls realize it or not. That's not including the rash of these smash and grabs and takeovers and these appearances by hundreds of youths causing trouble. And the latest incident was at Carson Mall.
Earlier tonight in Carson, that's where several teens had to be taken into custody after authorities say a large group of kids caused a disturbance at the South Bay Pavilion Mall. The deputies arrived there just after 5 o'clock this afternoon. Reports of teens causing trouble inside. Officials say the crowd...
Wait. They call it the South Bay Pavilion Mall. It's the Carson Mall, okay? And the one in Fox Hills is called the Fox Hills Mall, not Westfield Town Center. It's Fox Hills Mall and Carson Mall. I don't care what you try to call them today.
After authorities say a large group of kids caused a disturbance at the South Bay Pavilion
Carson Mall.
The deputies arrived there just after 5 o'clock this afternoon. Reports of teens causing trouble inside. Officials say the crowd was disrupting business at the mall, which was actually forced to close about 3:30. Witnesses tell us that it was a small group of teens that started a fire in one of the trash cans, and then that led to the lockdown.
My nephew got detained, and they had some kids had started a fire, put a fire in the trash cans, and so they detained over 100 kids. It used to be, they said it was only 30 that actually started the fires. I feel like they should only detain the ones that started the fire, not all the kids.
Well, deputies, we understand, spent about 5 hours there getting those teens to leave. Police say no thefts, though, and no injuries reported.
Look, as far as the police only detaining the kids who had started the fire, that's a nice sentiment, but when you have some 200 kids out there, you're going to try to figure out who did what. So that means everyone's going to get detained until they figure out who did it. And this kind of comes on the heels of our other discussion with Del Amo Mall. If you don't remember, Del Amo Mall put in a new policy where if you're under the age of 18, you must be accompanied by an adult 21 years or older on Saturdays and Sundays. And that's probably going to be the case at these other malls as well. I personally don't agree with the policy. I think it leads itself to other unintended consequences, but I understand the possibility and the reasoning for it. And it's maybe weird how I compartmentalize it, but I understand. And this is about the survival of malls as we know them. And I don't know if they will be a thing 10 years from now. I have no reason to go to a mall. And I would like to believe, or I'm inclined to believe, that I'm like most people in that regard. Most things I can get online and either just go pick it up or have it delivered to me within 24 hours. It actually makes it easier on my life in which I don't have to take time out of my day to go to a mall, hope that something is actually there, buy it, and then drive back, as opposed to just getting on Amazon or even eBay and say, click, 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 send it to me, and it'll be there in a relatively short amount of time.
If these malls continue down this path of banning young people or individuals under the age of 18, there's going to be no one in the malls. There is literally no reason for someone that is our age to be in the mall unless we're just browsing. And most of us don't browse. We go
we'll buy
specifically
food
to
at
get
most.
a thing.
Yeah.
We don't go to a mall to go shopping. We go to find the thing, get it, and leave it. If it's not there, we may not come back because then we're going to go online. I just bought some shoes. I know my size. I know my width. I know the style I'm looking for. I went online and got them. They should be at the house right now.
Well, something that my wife does, which is pretty ingenious, she will go to a mall and just get the SKU number of the item and then see if she can find it online at a less price. She gets the SKU, finds out the item details, and just goes from there.
Yeah, that is the way. The mall that my kids go to, and I swear I don't like going to this mall because of the Topanga Mall.
Oh, yeah.
The Topanga Mall, just the kids there. They've overrun this thing.
I was there a few weeks ago.
Young people galore. I can't stand it because I don't like just their loudness, the rudeness.
You're old man.
There, kids are skateboarding through the store. They're skateboarding in the damn store. I don't like it. I'd rather not be in there.
You sound like get off my lawn, and you want to complain about me. That's a get off my lawn moment.
Yeah, they need to get off my mall.
Oh, now it's your mall. No, this for me, I don't know if a mall has any contemporary relevance in a marketplace sense. There are too many other ways that we can get everything we want without physically going to the store. I get it. We all have different levels of comfort. Some people don't feel comfortable with buying shoes online. Some people don't feel comfortable with buying clothes without trying them on online. I get that. But if you know your size and you know your brand, then there's really no need to go. Like, for example, I know my Levi size. Okay, I can just go directly to any number of online outlets and get the Levi's that I want. Same with shoes. I love Skechers. You know what? I don't need to go to a Skechers store ever again because I know everything I need to know. I don't know about you, Mark. You don't like a lot of people, so you probably don't go to a mall either.
No, where else are you going to have a Charles Bronson moment with a gang of young hooligans, though?
You said hooligans. You said hooligans. Get off my lawn, hooligan.
That combined with the fact that you're pretty much not guaranteed to be safe from a shooting anywhere in public. Can't say I'm a huge mall fan at this point. You got to bear in mind, these have only been around since the 70s, right?
Yes.
Remember Dawn of the Dead, 1979? That's the first most people ever saw of a mall. These are not a big part of American history by any stretch.
Well, they are a part of American history.
Well, they're gone.
They are a part of the zeitgeist of maybe 1985.
Do you remember the last time you and your wife or girlfriend or whatever actually said to each other, hey, let's go to the mall? Just without an objective, but like as a primary activity to do for an evening.
No, I remember that as a teen because that was the place where you could hang out for free. You didn't have to spend any money, and there was a good chance you'd come across some girls who would actually be shopping.
Even without one of Tawala's mixtapes, you thought you had a shot?
No, back then, I had my own mixtape. Look, I'm on talk radio. I had game back then, all right? I had the gift of gab.
Is that right?
Oh, yes, I did.
Okay.
Yes, I did. I didn't know it was preparing me for my life in talk radio. But yes, I had a mouth on me back then, honestly.
Science fiction.
Talk myself into trouble, talk myself out of trouble. Thank you very much.
Trying to picture it.
Look, there was not a hot dog on a stick stand which didn't know me. And it wasn't there because of the food, let me tell you.
Well, those uniforms, especially with the hat.
There you go.
They were very alluring.
Did you see how they were like making that lemonade? They were pumping it in there, forcing it down. It's like, pump. Never mind.
I bet the hot tube girl worked at a hot dog and a stick.
Yeah.
Punk, and spit on that thing. You get me?
We're not here to tell you what to think. We're here to give you the latest.
KFI
and KOST HD2.
Los Angeles, Orange County.
Live.